This next segment of Bet the Farm is brought to you by our partners in DraftKings.
Yeah, DraftKings Sportsbook. Remember, any new customers, use our code TTFS. Place any $5 bet and you get $200 in bonus bets.
DraftKings, the crown is yours.
Guys, UFC 309. It's coming up fast. Let's talk about some picks.
Yeah, we have some. So the problem with this card is that to me it's predictable. So it makes some of the picks difficult. So the most obvious pick is one that's been around since the start, the advent, the thought of this card was Stipe and John Jones. That fight is very much a Dana White fight. The fight was created strictly to have John Jones further cement his legacy and sell tickets. So we've mentioned that UFC is lacking in star power to a certain degree, and when one of the last superstars they have is John Jones. Now, John Jones can't get out of his own way criminally. He keeps getting hurt, but he does technically have the legitimate heavyweight strap. He technically has it.
No, you're right.
So Tom Aspinall, as exciting and young as he is, he doesn't have the star power that John Jones has. So what Dana White did was he manipulated it. So Aspinall retains the interim belt. John Jones fights the corpse of Stipe Miocic. Get pissed about my pronunciation. Kiss my balls. But the reason for this fight is they are trying to get John Jones another win, which is why the line is what it is.
And Stipe's legacy on paper is great, but again, we mentioned before, Anthony Rumble Johnson has more recent wins than Stipe. Anthony's super dead.
Correct.
I know
Carlos Condit has more wins. So what is the takeaway? It's that John Jones is clearly going to win. So at the time of this filming, John Jones is a minus 675. Stipe is a plus 490. That line is exactly where it should be. The only way Stipe wins this fight is if he catches lightning in a bottle, and he's not going to.
I mean, because he's not going to outstrike him over 5 rounds. He's not going to.
He can catch it, but Jones has never. I'm
saying over 5 rounds.
No,
he's not gonna outbox him or outstrike him over 5 rounds.
He can't.
He's not going to grind him out and lay him prey over him.
He's not big enough to.
Yeah, he's not going to catch a submission. The only thing he can do, he does have legitimate power, even at his age, probably.
No, definitely. Jones Stipe, it might as well be a WWE match. It's pre, and I don't mean like it's fixed, but it's just so obvious that Jones.
The only prop that's available on DraftKings right now is the over/under, which is at 1.5 rounds. I don't want to touch it because I don't know. Again, Stipe is such an unknown. He's going to lose.
Jones hasn't hit the Jones hit the under a round and a half against Gane submitted, who I think doesn't understand submissions. Yeah. And the last time he finished a guy under a round and a half was Chael Sonnen.
But I still don't like the over.
No, I don't either. I just have to give context for why the line is where it is.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
And then Stipe, when he gets finished, he tends to get finished pretty early. So because he gets caught and shit. So I think when I would take Jones in the distance when that shows up, because Jones can submit him, he can knock him out.
Well, we'll have to see the line on it.
Yeah, but I don't care what the line is, because straight up, if he's minus 675, Jones in the distance is going to be a better number. Jones will win this fight. He will finish him. I've never been more sure of anything outside of Diaz and Luque, which we'll talk about at another date. Yeah. But yeah, so now
the pick is Jones. Jones money line until we see something.
Correct. Jones money line to start, and then from there, I'm definitely going to slam. I'm going to hammer Jones in the distance. Next one, an excellent, interesting rematch. We have Doe Bronx, Charles Oliveira taking on Michael Chandler.
Guys, I've talked to Matt about this so many fucking times.
Did I mess up?
Do.
Oh my God, who gives a shit?
Well, his fucking name. It's not
name, Doe Bronx, it's Do Bronx.
Do Bronx.
I read it. It's D-O. Do a deer, female deer. I don't know. All right.
Do Bronx.
All right. Do shut the fuck up.
Okay, anyway. So, Do Bronx, Charles Oliveira. So, it's funny. So, we saw this initially differently, and we're on the same page now. So, you got DraftKings says Oliveira at minus 278, Chandler at plus 225. The first fight,
Chandler had him dead to rights.
I think they should have stopped it.
I guess the argument's always going to be...
I'll say this. I've seen many, many, many other stoppages that was sooner than that weren't argued.
Correct. Yeah.
So, again, Oliveira came back and snuffed Chandler.
Here's why I think the line's where it's at. Is Oliveira's been super active, where Chandler's been waiting for the McGregor fight for what seems like forever.
I saw Chandler on social media and be like, "Oh, the rumors aren't true. I'm not overweight. I'm not having a tough weight cut." But I'm like, dude, if you have to say
he didn't look fat, but he looked so
big,
insanely jacked and large that I think he might have trouble cutting.
Yep.
I do like Oliveira in this. I like the money line, and I'm going to hammer Oliveira at minus 278.
Yeah, and for me, I'm not going to hammer it. It's one unit for me, and I don't love the odds. I think if you get rid of the odds entirely, I'm leaning Oliveira. I think Oliveira wins that fight. I don't know that he's like almost a 3-1 favorite in my opinion, because Chandler had a great showing.
He did, but Oliveira is like his entire. He reminds me like Felix Trinidad, where he gets like knocked down and then kills everyone. Like Oliveira always has
that stumble before he wins. Yeah, so Oliveira money line. I don't know that I'll PP this one. I know Matt will.
The next one that we have to at least address is Bo Nickel versus Paul Craig. I almost said Daniel Craig. Paul Craig has the greatest accent in UFC history. He has like the whole
Braveheart thing.
Yeah, which is cool. He is super dangerous off his back with triangles. We saw that with Magomed. We've seen it with others too. I think Jamal Hill, right? He broke his arm and shit. Yep. He's not doing anything to Bo Nickel. Nobody is for a while. Bo Nickel has been knocking dudes out because they're so scared of his wrestling.
Yep.
And the reason they're scared of his wrestling is because he's the best wrestler in the UFC, which I believe including Khamzat Chimaev.
When he first came on the scene, I thought, I'm not going to buy into the hype initially. I'm like, I know he's got a great ground game. The kid is a special talent. His knockout power is no fucking joke, and you have to be terrified of his ground game.
Because he has one punch knockout power too. And he has submissions. He's talented. So he's a minus 1,000 right now.
So I mean, I'm not touching it on the money line.
When we get some props, I would take him inside the distance. Yep. I definitely think he finishes Paul Craig. Paul Craig has negative stand up. His only real threat is
triangle off his back,
and Bo's just too sound of a grappler to ever be worried about that. So if you want to mess around with it in like a parlay builder, God bless you. I wouldn't. I'm not touching this fight.
Maybe like a 2-leg parlay just to add.
Sure.
If you feel really good about the other side of it, I personally think that Nickel is a lock.
No, I mean he's
a great chance of.
He would have to tear his ACL on the way to the ring.
Yeah,
and then he's still gonna win.
So I really like this one, the Underdog Pick of the Week, brought to you by our great friends and sponsors at Underdog Hot Chicken. Jim Miller, plus 136.
Jim Miller, I like. He's 41 years old. He has every record in the UFC. He has the most fights, most wins. I think he's like second most submissions, most performance of the night, most submissions of the night. You name it. The matchup is a matchup that I think favors Jim. The thing is, Jim's funny because Dana just likes the dude.
Yep.
So he matches him accordingly. He puts him with fights that he can win.
Yep.
So this is going to be. He flirts with retirement every time he fights, and then he never retires because he doesn't look like shit.
Yeah. So he's not. So you nailed it on the way that Dana matches him up. He's not a gatekeeper because Dana doesn't use him as a stepping stone. While like someone like Donald Cerrone, who's exciting, has always been around, he would be gatekeeper status. You would push the next guy over the line. Jim Miller, they make exciting, competitive fights for him.
And Damon Jackson can fight. He doesn't suck. But I just don't think that he... No, I mean, and honestly, he probably should be the favorite. But if we're picking an Underdog pick of the week, I'm going Jim Miller every time.
I love Jim Miller in this fight.
I actually like him in this fight, too.
To be honest with you. So I'd PP this one. Jim Miller, plus 136, Underdog Pick of the Week.
Yeah, I like it. Which leads us to what is typically our sucker bet parlay.
But it's not this time, Matt. And it's so funny because so for people who listen, if you want to go back and like play the word of the day, Rob fucking hates when we say because we're like super duper. Rob, what's the it's not the sucker bet parlay. What's this one?
This is the super sucker.
It's a super sucker bet parlay.
This is the Elbrook parlay, the super sucker parlay.
Oh,
you guys,
I
was starting fellatio. So anyways.
Yeah, so let's build this one out.
First, break this down for our viewers. It's called a sucker parlay.
This one's not.
It's called a super sucker parlay.
Thank you, sir.
The word sucker is in it. This is talking about not financial advice. It's called a super sucker parlay. But we're going to put one together, and I love this one.
What if you hit?
You can't win if you don't play. That's what I've been told.
So, Matt, Bo Nickel, Paul Craig, who do you think wins that fight?
Nichols destroys him.
Oliveira, Chandler, who wins?
I like Oliveira.
Jones, Miocic.
Jones kills Stipe.
So now, let's make it a little more interesting.
Ooh. Eric Anders is fighting, he's still my boy, damn it, Chris Weidman. The fact that Chris Weidman is the most precipitous drop off in MMA history. He came over a horrific leg injury.
That's not his fault. Like I don't even put it on him. No,
I do. Bad juju. He's cursed after he broke Silva's leg with the destruction, whatever leg check. Chris Weidman does not look good at all.
Like physically, he looks like he's like shouldn't be fighting anymore.
He looks banged up,
Yeah.
dude. Like a horrible career, like took its toll on him in wrestling, what have you. And Eric Anders can punch, dude. So we're gonna add Anders.
Yeah. So if we do just Jones, Oliveira, Nickel, Jim Miller,
Yep.
and Anders, we're at plus 590. That's your sucker bet.
That would be a sucker bet.
That's a sucker bet parlay.
Anyone can put together a sucker bet.
Plus 590. No.
So what are we doing? We're gonna tack on, homeboy. I think it's Denise.
He's the one fighting Marcin Tybura.
Tybura, I'm shorting. He is not a monster. This Denise cat has done really well with the Dana White's Contender Series.
Let's talk about camp. So Denise was supposed to fight the
Derek
Black
Lewis.
Beast on November 2nd.
Yep.
They're flexing it 2 weeks and tossing Marcin Tybura.
Yeah, so I don't know what Tabor's training camp was like. I don't know what he was preparing for. But
And you had mentioned, granted, it's a different style matchup. It's not like a
little bit, but
one
like
punch knockout artist.
So, but Derek Lewis is like, when he kills you, it is standing up, it is loopy. We've seen flying knees, whatever. But really, it's when he ground and powers you to death. So you have to imagine that Denise is prepared for that.
Yeah.
Tabora's path to victory historically has just kind of been. He
Lay and
does
pray.
finish guys, but it's
It's
lay and
it's
pray,
lay and
dude.
pray,
Like he just
It's
controls.
a top position.
And if he can't control, then that leads us to what, Mark?
the super sucker bet parlay,
Which is plus 1166. So to break that down again, the parlay includes
John Jones money line,
Yep.
Charles Oliveira money line, Bo Nickel money line, Jim Miller money line, Eric Anders money line, and Denise money line. 1166. That's life-changing odds, Matt.
That is the wonder of it all. I don't know. I have to imagine it's worth putting a couple bucks on it, a couple units. We should 10 units. Is that what you said? I'm just kidding, Mark.
Oh, wait, we're going small?
Sorry. We're going small. Yeah, so that's the Super Sucker Bet parlay of the week. I'm very excited. Shout out to DraftKings for letting us shoot the breeze on the Bet the Farm here.
Yeah.
I think I think Mark would be crazy not to bet.
But hold on. So if you don't have a DraftKings account, new customers, we say this all the time, you start an account, use our code TTFS, $5 bet gets you $200 in bonus bets. If you don't like parlays, if you have $200 in bonus
bets are meant to be bona fide.
I like letting it ride.
I'm just saying.
So
Yep. If you guys like 80s action films, degenerate gambling, and just general violence, be sure to subscribe to the Toe to Toe Fight Show.